Hello everyone, hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. Today, I'll be talking about how to write a resume and giving you some tips to help your resume stand out. In this video, I'll go over the main components of a resume, including the title, contact information, education, soft and hard skills, employment history, volunteer activities, and references. When writing a resume, it is best to keep it at a one-page maximum. Try to fill out the page as much as possible and only include relevant information if it is too long. Most resumes are written in reverse chronological order, meaning you will list your work history from most recent at the top and oldest at the bottom. When writing your resume, you can either choose a resume template from Microsoft Word or you can make your own on a blank sheet. And a tip to help you save some time is to always save your resume so you can continue to work on it and update it. That way, you don't have to start from the beginning every time you write one. At the very top of your resume will be the title, which will include your name and contact information. Your name should be easy to see. You can bold it or use a larger font size to make it stand out. You should include a street address, an email, and a phone number where you can be contacted. I recommend not listing your full street address. The city and state should be sufficient. As mentioned in the previous slide, you should include an email address where employers can communicate with you. Email is a common form of communication and also a method in which you can send your resume to employers. I recommend having a Gmail account because you can use Google Docs to write a resume if you don't have access to Microsoft Word. And you can also save your resume on Google Docs or in Google Drive. Make sure that your email address is professional. I recommend including your first name and last name, for example, johnsmith@gmail.com. Please do not use an email address along the lines of bigballer@gmail.com or givemeajob@gmail.com. These are unprofessional and should not be used when applying for jobs. Next, make sure you list a reliable phone number where employers can call you. If you change your phone number, make sure you can update it on your resume. This next section will discuss the objective of your resume. This section is completely optional and would typically be found below the title of your resume, if you decide to include it. An objective is a way for you to state your goals of employment. It could be simple and broad. For example, medical assistant position for a healthcare provider. Or it can be direct and specific to a company. For example, medical assistant position with Kaiser Permanente. It can also be long and descriptive. For example, to obtain a position as a medical assistant with a healthcare provider that will enable me to utilize the clinical skills I developed during my 2 years of training. This next part, the education section, can either be towards the top of your resume or towards the bottom. It just depends on how relevant your education is for the job you're applying for. For example, if you're applying for a job that requires a minimum of a bachelor's degree, then I would recommend putting the education towards the top of your resume. If you're applying for a job that doesn't require higher than a high school diploma or GED, then you could put this section towards the bottom. Writing your education, include the name of the school or institution and the certificate or degree you received or will be receiving, along with the year you received it or are expecting to receive it. Here are some examples listed, but one thing that is wrong with these examples is that the certificate and degree should be bolded, not the name of this institution. This makes it easier for the employer to see the degree or certificate you received. Now, here are two examples of the degree and certificate being bolded. This makes it stand out more and easier to see. This next section, the skills section, is where you can demonstrate the skills that you have that are relevant to the job position you're applying for. They can be general skills like communication, interpersonal, or problem-solving skills. These skills are known as soft skills. Hard skills are more specific. For example, if you're applying for a job in the hospitality industry, you can mention if you have experience in processing payments, handling cash, heat control, knife cuts, etc. If you're applying for an office position, you can list all the computer programs you know. For example, like Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. It is good to have some soft skills and some hard skills listed. You can list 5 to 10 skills for this section. Also, you can use the skill sections to list any relevant coursework that you may have. For example, if you're applying for a laboratory position, you can list any science course or lab courses that you may have completed. Now, we'll discuss the employment history section, which is one of the most important, if not the most important sections of your resume. In this section, you will list your previous work experience and 3 job duties for each work history. Here's where you can demonstrate what you're capable of. When listing your employment history, make sure to include the job title, the name of the company you worked for, the location of the job, including just the city and the state, and the dates you worked there for. Just like in the example below, include the month and year for both the start and end date. But if you have time gaps between your work history or don't remember the month you started or ended, then you could just use the year for both the start and end date of employment. For example, below 2016 to 2018 could have been used instead of June 2016 to September 2018. However, try to stay consistent with your dates. Either include the month and year for each job history or just include the year. Don't mix it up. When listing your work experience, make sure to use bullet points to list your previous job duties. It makes it easier to read and much more organized, compared to just writing paragraphs. Also, avoid using I in your resume. Instead, use action verbs to start your job descriptions. For example, instead of saying I maintained a clean and organized work environment, you can start your description with maintained a clean and organized work environment. Other examples of action verbs are advised, collected, developed, and diagnosed. You should also include specific details in your job descriptions by using numbers, who you worked with, and the tools you used, etc. In my example, I mentioned supervised 10 student employees while monitoring a facility utilized by approximately 250 people. In this example, I used an action verb, numbers, and the group of individuals I worked with, that being student employees. If you have limited work experience, you can list any extracurricular activities or volunteer experiences you may have. Volunteer and community service experience are a good way to develop transferable skills. For example, communication skills, leadership skills, teamwork skills, etc. These experiences can also demonstrate your interest in a particular field. For example, volunteering at Kaiser Permanente can demonstrate an interest in the healthcare field. These experiences can also demonstrate that you're committed. Volunteering at a local food bank for 80 hours shows that you're committed by having volunteered there for a large number of hours. Employers want employees that will work for them for a while and not have to constantly look for new employees to fill the position. Internships and externships are also excellent experiences to add to your resume. Another section you can include in your resume is an honors and awards section. Here you can list any academic honors or job-related achievements that can help you stand out amongst other candidates. You can also mention any leadership experiences that you have had. Even having trained a previous coworker demonstrates leadership skills. If you trained a coworker in the past, you can even add this to your job descriptions in the work history section. References are often a requirement when applying for jobs, so to make your life easier, it is good to have a reference sheet made ahead of time. References will go on a separate sheet from your resume, but your reference sheet can include the same title as your resume, just the name and the contact information. It is good to have at least 2 to 3 references, which can be from a previous employer, a teacher or professor, an advisor, a supervisor, or even a colleague. Each reference should include the reference person's name, their job title or position, the department and company they work for, their work address, email, and a phone number. You can list 3 to 5 references, but try to at least have 2 to 3, preferably 3. Before putting someone down as a reference, make sure it's okay with them. Don't just list someone without asking them for permission first. Also, let your references know when you're applying for jobs so that they are aware that they may be contacted. And choose people that know you well and will provide you with a strong recommendation. I hope this video helped you answer any doubts that you may have about resumes and that it helps you write an excellent resume. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and stay home.